everyone, welcome to the channel DEVOPS Tech Stack. So today we will learn about the day 9 of the Kubernetes playlist. So in the day 9 video, we will explain or learn about the Kubernetes service account and what is long lived token. So in Kubernetes, basically, the best and recommended way to allow API access to your Kubernetes cluster is through service account with long-lived token. So you are not going to use any admin credentials or your own user account. You are not going to use that. And instead of that, you are going to use a concept of the service account if you want to access any data from your Kubernetes cluster. So the very best way is to use the service account where these things comes into picture. So now we have several pointers where Kubernetes service account plays a vital role. The very first is if you are deploying Prometheus or Grafana and you want to access the data of your Kubernetes cluster through that Prometheus or Grafana, so that access can only be done using the concept of the service account. Okay. Now, if you want any external applications to access your resources over the Kubernetes cluster, there also you are going to use the concept of the service account. Now, why would you need this access? Let's take an example of Prometheus monitoring stack. Prometheus need read access to cluster API to get information from the metric server, read the pods. All these details Prometheus want from your Kubernetes cluster. So when you deploy the Prometheus, you add the cluster read permission to the default service account where the Prometheus pods are deployed. This way, Prometheus pod get read access to your cluster resources. Okay. So now you understood why you need a service account because you can't use any admin credentials or your own user credentials. These things you can't use. You need to go with the concept of the service account to access any detail related to your Kubernetes cluster and also to maintain the better security purpose so that there is no security breach. Okay. Now, in this lecture, what we will do, we will create a service account in some namespace. Then we will create a cluster rule. Then we will create a cluster rule binding. Then we are going to validate whether my service account is able to access your resources using the kubectl command. Then we are going to associate a secret with the service account. And then finally, we are going to validate service account access using the API call with the long-lived token. So without wasting much time, let's go in detail of each and every step. So the very first thing is I'm going to create a service account in some namespace. So first I'm going to create some custom namespace and inside that namespace I'm going to create a service account with the name API service account inside that namespace. So with this one-liner command also you can create a service account. Otherwise you can write a simple YAML file to create a service account. So the very first step is let's see if your cluster is up and running or not. kubectl get nodes. So my kite cluster is up and running. If you haven't watched, please watch the previous videos. You will get to know how to create a simple Kubernetes cluster. So now you are going to run this particular command to create a namespace. So my namespace name is DevOps-tools. Hit enter. And now you can run the command kubectl get ns. You will see DevOps tools namespace is created. Now what I'm going to do? Now I'm going to create a service account inside this particular namespace. So for that, you have this particular one-liner command. kubectl create the service account with the name API service account inside the namespace DevOps tools. Now hit enter. If you want, you can see whether your namespace is created or not. kubectl get fa-n DevOps-tools. Okay, I think SA is small. Okay, now your service account is also created inside this namespace. Now what you are going to do? You are going to create a cluster rule. Cluster rule is an object in your Kubernetes concept. What it will do? It will Assume that your service account need access to the entire cluster resources. You are going to create a cluster rule with a specific set of access what you want to give to your service account. Okay, so this is a simple cluster rule YAML file where you are going to specify what all API groups your service account will need access for. API version you already know, right? Slash v1 or slash apps. Those things, whenever you write a YAML file, you are going to see those components, right? So here I have mentioned all the API groups, whatever exist in the Kubernetes. After that, on what all resources I want the access. So for now, I have written that on all the resources related to the Kubernetes, I want the service account to for the access, right? So here I've given pods, config map, daemon side deployment, everything. For all these components, the access would be there for my service account. So here I have mentioned all the resources. But depending on your use case, you can minimize these things, right? After that, what kind of verbs it should be allowed? That kubectl get, kubectl delete, kubectl edit. What kind of verbs this service account should be able to access? So those verbs I have mentioned over here. Okay, so this is a simple cluster rule, Kubernetes object whose name is API cluster rule, and it is going to be deployed in the namespace DevOps tool. And this is simple rule. For now, I have not attached it with any service account. I have just created a simple rule file that what is I'm going to use later. So just copy this particular content for my cluster rule. Okay, done. Okay, cluster rule dot YAML. Okay. And here I have already specified the namespace, so you don't need to worry about this part. You just need to run the command kubectl apply. Kubectl apply -s, then hit enter. So now your cluster rule is created. After that, what I'm going to do, and then once your cluster rule is created, here you are specifying that this YAML declaration has a cluster rule with full access to your cluster resources, because everything I have written over here, right? All the resources, all the works, everything. So in that case, it has full access to your cluster resources, but generally it is not recommended for all the cluster component you need to give the access. So depending on your use case, you can modify it a bit. After that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a cluster rule binding. What this cluster rule binding Kubernetes object will do, it will link your service account to the cluster rule what you have created. So I have created the cluster rule with the name API cluster rule, and my service account name is API service account. So now I want to link these together. So these linking can be done using the Kubernetes object called as the cluster rule binding. So again, the kind is cluster rule binding. And here in the subject section, the very first thing is you need to specify in which namespace you want to do and which service account you want to link. So the kind is service account, and this is my service account name. After that, in the role reference, you have to specify the cluster rule name. So this is my cluster rule name, right? So this is a simple cluster rule binding file which will link your cluster rule and your service account. So just copy this and then we will apply it. Cluster rule binding dot YAML. Okay. Now just paste it. Copy part. And it is on the entire Kubernetes level. It is not on the namespace level. So you just need to apply it like this. kubectl apply -f and then this. So now your cluster rule binding is also created. After that, what we will do, after that, once this linking is done, you need to verify that whether your service account is able to access the pod or deployment. These things will is it able to do or not. So for that, you have this particular command. You just copy this, paste over here. So now the service account name is API service account. inside the namespace DevOps tools. So with this service account, whether I am able to get the pod list or not. So kubectl or can I miss this service account, whether this service account can get the pod list or not. So hit enter and it is saying yes. So now it is allowed with this service account. You got the result, right? Similarly, if you want to see that whether I am able to delete the deployment or not, because all the permissions I have given, so it should be yes. Now, yes, right? So now this is also done. Now the main part is you need to associate a secret with this service account so that you can get a long lived token and that token can be used for any HTTP call. So how to do that? So to use the service account with the HTTP call, you need to have the long-lived token associated with the service account. And a long-lived token in Kubernetes is authentication token that does not expire quickly. Like if you are going to from your Kubernetes cluster or from your application, if you are accessing your Kubernetes cluster and you want to make some kind of call, so in that case you can use the long lived token which is not going to expire, and it is a kind of long lived token. It can be hard coded or it can be created as a secret in your application as an environment variable in your application so that you can access the Kubernetes cluster for any data. So in that case, to create a secret for your service account, you have this particular YAML file. What this YAML file is creating, it is creating a secret, and inside this secret, you are giving the so in the annotation section, you are providing your service account name, that is API service account. So this is the main thing, that inside the annotation, you have to provide the service account name, and this need to be created inside the namespace DevOps tool, means the same namespace. So I'm going to create a simple secret, right? So you just copy this secret dot YAML. Okay. Inside this secret, I'm just linking the service account in the annotations section, and then you have the namespace as DevOps tools. So it will be basically created inside the this DevOps tool namespace, this secret, right? So you just do kubectl apply -f and done. Now this secret is also created. After that, what I am doing, once this secret is created, use the following command to get the base 64 decoded token. So you want the long lived token, right? So to get the long lived token, you just have to hit this command. Okay. kubectl get secret. What is the secret name? API service account token. And from this secret, I want this particular path. So if you just see over here, I will show you one thing. kubectl get secret. What is my secret name? This is my secret name, right? Copy and then my namespace and then -o young. Okay. And you see over here, this is my long lived token. So this particular value I am extracting in this particular command. Actually, with this JSON path data.token, I am getting this particular value. So once you get this long lived token, just decode it. Okay. I will decode it online. Decode base 64 and you got the long lived token. This is my long lived token. Okay. Just copy this or let it be here. So now basically using this SA token of created using the secret, you can make the HTTP call to your Kubernetes cluster from your application. I hope now you are clear with the concept of service account. In case of any doubt, please let me know in the comment section and stay tuned for the upcoming videos related to Kubernetes or the entire end-to-end projects related to DevOps. Thank you.